Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com. So in this video, we're answering the big question, what is the best way to learn ukulele? Now the answer is actually quite simple. It can be stated in 3 words, and that is have a plan. Now the details of this plan, that's the part that everyone struggles with. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you walk into a gym for the first time. What are you greeted by? You're greeted by a room full of machines. Where do you start? Which machine do you choose? What exercise do you do? What muscle groups are you focusing on? How long should you work out? As you can see, one question leads to another, and to another, and so on. Now the same holds true for the ukulele, and that's why I've created what I'm calling learning paths. Now learning paths is a step-by-step guide that takes a look at the beginner player, the intermediate player, and the advanced player, and it answers those big questions. It answers where do you start, what do you work on, and how do you know you're proficient for each level? How do you know when you're ready to advance to the next level? So you guys can click this link right here to check out the entire guide. Now, I'd highly encourage you to read through the entire guide, regardless of what level you would currently categorize yourself as. Now, this guide also has 6 videos of 6 of our members performing in each of those 3 levels. So please watch those videos too, because it's highly encouraging to see other people doing it. If they can do it, you can do it too. So in this video, I'm only going to be covering the beginner level. So if you want to know what the intermediate and the advanced players should be working on, then definitely check out the guide. Now, our first step for the guide just happened to be our very first lesson in music college on day 1. Can you guess what that lesson was? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a P and ends with an ing. Practicing. So that's how important practicing is. So if you're like me, practicing always seemed a bit tedious, a bit boring, kind of like a task. But the problem wasn't practicing itself. The problem was that I didn't know how to practice. I didn't know that there were 3 steps for practicing. And I didn't know that you could structure a practice schedule to target specific areas. And by doing so, you could increase your skills and musicianship rapidly. So let's take a look at practicing. And if you want to read more into practicing, check out this article. Now, the 3 steps for practicing are repetition, reinforcement, and evaluation. So repetition is pretty easy to understand. It's something that we probably already do. So it's taking a musical phrase, for example, and looping it, just repeating it over and over and over again. But let's go back to that gym analogy. If I was to take a free weight and do this 100 times, am I going to look like Popeye in a day? I don't think so. So that's why step 2 in practicing is super important. That's reinforcement. If I come back the next day and I do it again, and the next day and I do it again, and 2 months later I'm still doing it, I'm probably going to see results. When we repeat things, we have to realize that reinforcement is key, because reinforcement is what develops deeply embedded skills. So there's only so much you can get down in a day, but if you keep coming back to it and you keep working at it, that's how you develop those deeply embedded skills. Now, the last step of practicing is evaluation. Now, we live in a time that's awesome for technology. This is an easy step to accomplish. So on day 1 of you working on that one little musical phrase, go ahead and put your iPhone in front of you, hit record, and record that first day of practice. Then on the 7th day, record yourself again. And then watch back. How did you improve? What do you need work on? Maybe you need to work on timing so you can focus in on the one area or a couple areas that you need to improve upon. So that's what evaluation is. So we have 3 steps. We have repetition, which is repeating and looping things. Reinforcement, coming back, doing it again the next day, the next day after, and so forth, and evaluation, analyzing our results, targeting in on areas that we need to continually work on. Now, those are the 3 steps for practicing. As we go through this guide for the beginner, we're going to be looking at how we can formulate a structured practice schedule to get results quicker. So keep those ideas in mind as we move forward throughout this video. So where does the beginner player begin? Where do I start? That's one of the most common questions I get asked pretty much every week. Now, the answer to that question is that you should focus on building a solid foundation. So what is this foundation and how do I build it? Well, luckily, I've created a step-by-step course, the Definitive Beginner's Guide to the Ukulele. So there's 27 lessons in this course, and we can think of the course split into thirds, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. So the first third of that course focuses on teaching you the fundamentals, the basics. So the first third of that course is going to be learning how to hold the ukulele. It's going to be learning how to tune the ukulele, the names of your strings, how to read tablature, and very important, how to understand rhythmic notation. So what's a measure? What does playing in 4/4 mean? What's a quarter note? How do you count eighth notes? So the first third of that course is all covering the basics. Now the second third of that course goes into the mechanics of playing. So that's when you get into learning how to actually pick and how to strum. And it's going to have lessons on developing proper left-hand form and right-hand form, so you're executing the picking and strumming correctly. Then it goes off into teaching you techniques such as hammer-ons and pull-offs, and it's got a lot of exercises covering everything that we just listed. Now, the last third of the course is songs. So you're going to be basically taking everything you learned in the first 2/3, putting it together to be able to perform your first songs. Now, this course being split into these thirds is actually a great way in approaching a practicing schedule. So if we were to devise a practice schedule, we could do it based off those thirds. Let me give you an example. So let's say you have 1 hour a day to practice, and you're going to split that hour into thirds. So the first third of that hour, you can focus on the basics. Let's say for this week, you're just going to work on reading tablature. So you want to make sure that you can read the tablature and correlate that information to the fretboard. Now the second third of that hour, you're going to be working on the mechanics of playing. So you're going to be focusing on just playing some exercises for finger picking. Now the last third of the hour, you're going to be focusing on learning one of the songs. So you want to be working on memorizing the song, being able to play it from start to finish. So this way, you've put together a structured practice schedule. So that is key for advancing at a rapid pace. Now oftentimes beginners, they kind of tend to fall into this pattern of they learn a song, and then every time they pick up the ukulele to play, they just practice that one song or a couple songs that they know, and that's all they ever do. And what happens is that they tend to hit a plateau. You're not really advancing, you're just playing the same thing over and over again. That, compared to what we just laid out, is a drastic change in your approach to learning ukulele. If you can organize a structured practice routine and practice schedule, and this schedule can change week by week, so you can target different areas to work on. That's going to help you advance and grow at a much quicker rate than if you didn't have a plan. So now that we know where to start and what to work on, how do we know when we're proficient as a beginner player? How do we know that we're ready to advance to the intermediate level? Well, the answer to that is it's going to become a bit obvious. You're going to start seeing clues left and right. So for example, once you start to have a good grasp on finger picking, strumming, having dexterity, knowing and memorizing your basic chords, getting the transitions from one chord to another down, when you have 5 to 10 songs completely memorized, when you can click on our ukulele songs page and take one of those beginner level songs and just breeze through it, that's going to say, hey, I'm ready to move to that next level. I'm ready to take the next step and challenge myself in learning harder material and harder concepts. Alright guys, I hope this video gave you some great insights into the beginner level player. Now, if you want to know my thoughts on the intermediate and advanced player, where they should start, what they should be working on, and what they should have accomplished, then check out the guide right here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave you with a video of one of our members, Tessa, performing the first song from our beginners course. Now, at the time of this recording, she had only been playing for 2 months. So Tessa is a great example of how if you approach learning the ukulele with a plan, a structured, detailed plan, you can get results quickly. All right, guys, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop a question in the comment box below, and I'd be happy to answer them there. Take care, guys. I'll see you in another lesson.